down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
What's up, party people? This is your friend, Steve VanCauwenbergh, trying to bring you as much content as humanly possible. And life happens. Anyway, I came across this website called Simplicle, SIMPLICABLE. Basically simple and applicable, all one word. You know, in this society, in this world, we could just make up words. So anyway, I've been just overly on the CEO tip, right? And what I mean by is, like, a lot of people are confused what a CEO is. Some people think that it's like a class or a school, or you have to have a certain pedigree or whatever the case may be. But in my mind, I think that to be a CEO is what you probably don't think it is. It is the hardest skill, I think, in the entire world. And there's myths that go along with, you know, a CEO. You have to have an MBA. You have to be a business aggressive, super duper, gangster guy as a CPA or even a girl. And I think that we just desensitize and overly embellish things for no reason because, one, we're just uneducated. And I just think that a CEO is kind of like a queen in chess. The business skill is strategy and techniques, and they can go all over the board. And so what I mean by that is, like, you may need to be on the front lines answering the phone. And, you know, I think there's some CEOs, some stigmatism is like they're too good and they shouldn't be doing lower level stuff. And I whatever, okay? And the reality is, your job as a CEO, the overarching job is revenue, like an execution. And so I'm just going to touch on a couple core skills and just some other things that would just get this dialect in your mind working. Are you a CEO? Are you have a potential to be a CEO? Or you're considering leaving your job, or you want to scale your entrepreneur endeavor, whatever the case may be. So let's go over some basic core skills. One is you have to define the mission, the vision, and the values. Basically, you got to breathe this scenario. You are constantly giving vision, and you're constantly a leader. You have to be a leader straight out the gate. So let's just cover leadership on another day. But the reality is that you have to give a vision. It's like, you know, it's just like raising money. It's almost like being married, and you have to lead someone, like, to follow you wherever that may be. But your job is to define the mission, like, what are we supposed to be doing? Here's the vision, and here's the values with that. Now, number two, excuse me, you have to communicate those values, present them in a way. Number three, you have to be champion those visions, that vision, and you kind of reference it all the time. Like, I would put it on a board, put it on the wall. A lot of people back in the 80s, 90s, they think that was cliche, or they never look at it. I'm telling you right now, when I'm having a conflict in my organization and we're thinking about letting someone go, we always reference, are they the key factor, and are they attributing to our mission? Are they in the culture? And so you just got to make sure that you understand what your job is. It's not necessarily a conversion. It has all these core skills that you must acquire, develop, and I would say almost work on a daily basis. 4, are you motivating? Listen, do I want to follow you? Would you follow yourself? I love talking to young entrepreneurs. I got this one entrepreneur right now that I'm coaching, and his counterpart, another person in the same industry, they started at the same time, and they're 3 times bigger than he is in his industry. And it boiled down, and I mean, sometimes I just say things, I don't even know what I'm saying. It's typical, just like this podcast. This is all random. But are you attractive enough? Are you a leader enough? Or have you worked? Why would people follow you? And so when I was comparing apples to oranges, like, this guy's 3 times bigger than this guy, and he hired me to scale him and get him to this level. And just a simple basic scenarios is like, have you read your bio? You don't have a bio. Why would someone want to work with you? Why are you doing what you're doing? Are you motivating? Number 5, strategic formulation. I'm telling you, I work on this on a regular basis. I'm constantly applying other industries to my current industry and trying to getting a competitive edge. Is there a strategy? Is there a formulation for what you're doing, and is it close to the vest? Number 6, you got to execute this strategy that you have that's internal. And, the podcast I have relieved. I have released or confessed all kinds of secrets. But are you really going to do them, right? You're listening to this podcast right now, and you're like, VanCauwenbergh has some points there. I've been always thinking that I was a CEO, but I'm missing. No, you got to be an executor. Are you going to go execute? You got to understand financial management, especially at the corporate level. You got to understand a spreadsheet and how it works. You got to know how to read a financial statement. So that's where you may be. And you may be a CEO. When I call out these core skills, hopefully they don't defeat you or deflate your balloon that you don't think you can acquire these skills, or you don't think you're good enough. That's a lie from the strong man. That's not you. You can learn it. I did. For many years, I just love young investors now when they come to me and I'm like, do you have a financial statement? No. Or they haven't updated it, and they only update it when a banker requests it. I mean, that's not a CEO, man. I'm telling you right now, I work on my financial statement every Monday. Now, when you work a little bit on it every day, every week, it's easy. Yes, you do have to start the ball in the beginning, but when you start the ball in the beginning, it's easy to move it forward. So you got to understand financial management, what a controller is, what these key factors are, and what their positions are. Obviously a CPA, but not all CPAs are the same. What an accountant, not all accountants are the same. Not all bookkeepers are the same. There's certain different types of bookkeepers, real estate. There's even 10 different 1099s and 1098s. Again, you don't really need to understand all of this, but you need to have a grasp of it. And if you do a little bit at a time, you'll be good. Number 8, mergers and acquisitions. Okay. This is a reality. Like, this is when I sit down with someone, I'm like, yo, what are we going to do? What do you want to do? I remember when we had the accounting firm and we had this exit strategy, kind of a philosophy when we started going. And then we realized through the process of growing a business, pain, anguish, death, resurrection, there's this thing called cash flow that inks out of the stone of blood of cash flow. And maybe we don't want to give that up. But we were prepared for an acquisition. We had our finances in order at any moment, and we realized at a certain specific time, we were going to entertain offers. But on the other side, mergers. There's been several times that we have acquired smaller firms just to get that book of business built up. So you got to understand the nuances of buying and selling a business, and also merging with another business. And what's the system? When a customer calls the old business, how are you going to parlay to you? How are you going to treat that person? It's like a typical thing like real estate. When you sell an asset or you acquire an asset, you send them a 30-day notice. Hey, start mailing your money this way, right? So that's a acquisition of sorts. And so there's a system in place. And if you don't have that system, call me and let me help you. But the reality is when we acquire a new asset, let's call it rental property, we go through this checklist of things that we do. Obviously, change the locks, insurance, notify the tenants, let our team know what's going on and what are our goals and action plan is moving forward. Number 9, corporate governance. Yeah, hierarchy of like what's happening, who's who, what they do. And you need to have kind of like, oh my gosh, what is that called? Like a tree. Man, I can't think of it right now. I'm not really prepared, but everybody has it like kind of a department head and what you're trying to do and what the job description is and how they kind of commingle together, not necessarily in funds, but how, they're cross training, how is your corporate structure developed and moving forward? Are you going to have sergeant of arms? Are you going to have controller and you're going to have accounts receivable? How's that going? Also, number 10, kind of a big one and important to me, protecting and growing your assets. Don't just, you're really good at sales. You might be really good at making money, but when it comes to, structuring an LLC properly or what's the difference between an S corp and a C corp, and you kind of don't really know, that's probably the time that you really need to know and understand how important it is to protect what you've built, and also having the plan with the vision of moving the assets forward and growing. And number 11 for today's core skills as a CEO, preserving, enhancing your reputation. I think it's critical. And, one of my homies has brought this to my attention, to the new generation, that they're not self-aware. I'm like, that's interesting. And I think that if you're going to be on a video, you might want to check your hair, right? If you're going to be in a video more than one day, maybe a couple of days, you might not want to wear the same shirt. And if you wear the same shirt more than one day, hey, I get it. If your collar is stretched out, come on, think about it. What's your reputation? What does that translate? Who you are? You couldn't take enough time to look in the mirror, brush your teeth, be aware, be conscious, and always be preserving and enhancing your reputation, all the way down to the final details. Like, do you need a tweezers to knock out your monobrow? Is your breath like dragon breath and you're not drinking enough water and you got bacteria in the back of your tongue? Come on. What does it look like? Take a few minutes when you respond to a Facebook post or a Google review. I would spend some time. I've learned this from my partner when we were doing a new acquisition of a business, and we spent a tremendous, she has spent a tremendous time reading reviews of this organization from around the United States, because there was like multiple units, stores, and she was researching in each individual market. So what they're saying in New Jersey, in that franchisee, are they doing it in California? And what are the reviews? What are the complaints? What are the positives? What are the negatives? And she's formulating a plan. She's a baller. She's formulating a plan to preserve and enhance our store's reputation. So that is just the core, quick, down and dirty 11 core skills of a CEO. Now, again, CEO is the number one responsibility for the firm, for your company, for your business. And so when shit starts smashing in your face, you don't blame the lower level person, and there is no lower level person, the mailroom person. It is you. You are the reflection of the company. Remember that. Adhere to that and understand that. So let's go through them one more time, and then we're gonna end this deal. Number one, you got to define the mission, the vision, and the values of your company. Does it in line, like, if you don't drink soda and you're trying to do a Pepsi commercial, obviously that is against your values. Come on. Define the mission, the vision, and the value. Number two, communicating the values, like living it out in your emails, in just your signature in your emails. Are you communicating what your company stands for on a regular? Are you bleeding it? Number three, you're championing the vision. You got to do this a lot. You got to remind, when I walk into a meeting, in our weekly meeting or whatever the case may be, I'm like, what's one key point that I can reflect or remind our team about our vision? Number four, motivating. Are you constantly motivating people in your organization? And it could be just a pleasantry. I remember working with some people that are always dry and just abrasive, and that works in some industries, right? Especially real estate, dealing with a tenant. You're dry, you may be a little bit more forward, but when you've gotten people and you're working with other people, you got to be, a little motivating, and you might need to be cheering them on. And it's interesting, you're going to reciprocate from someone else, and it's going to motivate you. So number four, motivate people in your organization. Number five, strategy, formulation. What's the plan? What's the budget? How are we going to strategize? It's chess. Like, remember, CEO's the queen. Like, how does this work? And then you execute that strategy that you formulated. That's number six. Number seven, financial management. Understand what managerial accounting is, external accounting, the banking, understand your finances. Number eight, be very aware of a merger, acquisition, diversification in your business, derivatives, like can you expand? Are you ready if someone offered you a certain amount of money for your business? Can you handle that? Could you acquire that? Can you acquire a new business? Number 9, your corporate structure. How is it laid out? What do you see the big vision, the front line, the middle management, if you see that? The nucleus, remote, blah, blah. Number 10, protecting and growing your assets. Come on. You got assets, don't throw them away because you didn't do your taxes properly. And I hear this all the time. Every year it's tax season and they got a large tax bill. And I overheard a real estate investor, I guess I need to refinance. Yeah, good time to refinance at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12% just so you can pay a tax burden. Come on, get organized and prepared on the front end. So protect what you've worked hard for. It's sad that you have to sell 3 or 4 houses just to maintain because you just haven't formulated a strategic plan, and now you're going to lose it. So protect and grow your assets. Every day I work on my priorities. What am I going to do that's a legacy revenue generating thing for my business? Am I going to call somebody back? Am I going to call a lead? Am I going to cold call somebody? Number 11, your reputation. I think supersedes everything. Now, of course, there's going to be some haters out there. So, hey, if you know me well enough, there's somebody out there that doesn't like me. It's just inevitable. Anytime you do anything good, there's always bad or evil. But you have the responsibility to maintain your reputation that you can control. You're going to get a bad review on Google. It's going to happen. How are you going to respond? Some people you don't need to argue. You just respond. And you respond in a professional manner that's going to enhance and preserve your reputation. I hope that this podcast helps you and it inspired you in some way or form, or just motivated you to say, hey, I need to really work on my mission statement. Or am I really communicating? Or do I need to get a haircut before I jump on a video? Think about it. But while you're thinking about it, buy assets so you can bless somebody else.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at savvyradioshow.com. Connect on Twitter @LandlordBook and always be buying assets.